The one that gets me though is Brighton and McAllister or Caicedo, because there's been a lot more stuff about Alexis McAllister and Liverpool than there has been about Moises Caicedo and Liverpool recently, I should say. And Alexis McAllister's father was speaking this week and said that he expects his son to leave the Amex in the summer. Didn't give an indication of where he'd go, be it what league or what club, but 60 million quid seems to be the number, according to journalists. Football Insider, I believe, have put out that number that Brighton are going to ask for £60 million for Alexis McAllister. It's too high. I'm sorry, lads, it's too high. I mean, I have to be honest. He's not a £60 million player for me yet. He could be. He's had a good season. Yes, he's been part of an Argentina squad that's won the World Cup, and that, that will add a premium. But I don't know, lads. 60 million? And Caicedo as well, the player that, if my memory's right, Brighton signed for like 4 million quid, and we're looking at a figure of about 60 or 70. I just think it's not right. Again, it's our own stupidity if we do these things. And why aren't we finding these players and taking a punt on them before other clubs? Because I refuse to believe our scouting system doesn't know about these players, because we have scouts the length and breadth of the world. If Brighton scouts know about players, it's pretty likely that Liverpool scouts will know about them, but we don't seem to take a punt on these guys. Even if it's to send them out on loan for a year or two, we seem to wait and then buy a shit ton of money. Or spend a shit ton of money to buy them, I should say. I don't know about 60 million though. Like, I do agree with everyone that says he's got something about him. He's 24 years of age, if my memory's right. And he's good. But is he 60 million good? I don't know, because then again, I don't know what's rational in this transfer market anymore with regards to numbers for players. If you had a straight shout between signing Alexis McAllister or Moises Caicedo from Brighton, who would you choose? I say one or the other because I find it hard to believe that Brighton would sell both in the same window. It would be just suicidal for them. And again, they're a club that's challenging for the European honours and really challenging this season. Got themselves a great victory away at Chelsea. See, this is what I'm saying. Everybody's saying Caicedo. And I agree. I'm with you. Caicedo's the answer for me. And if that's the case, I stand over my fee for McAllister being too high. And remember, this is supposed to be the window where we leave no stone unturned, where we scour Europe for the greatest of talent. Well, if we're going to have to buy from a Premier League rival, we're going to have to pay over the odds. They won't sell Caicedo. Look, I think there's a few McAllisters in there, but ultimately you all want Caicedo as well. And so do I. Because I can see Caicedo dropping into the midfield and doing what we need him to do. Being the legs we need to have, the energy we need to have. So why are we being linked to McAllister? That's my point here. If we're going for the best targets, remember, we've walked away from one player because we couldn't afford him and we didn't want to put all the eggs in one basket. So now we're looking for the best around Europe to fill 3 positions. You should be talking about Caicedo more. Krishan said, to be honest, the old scouting system we had, I feel that we could have had all these players for cheap from their original clubs before they made the big move, increasing their price. Yes, we seem to have been in the know of these top quality players coming through, but we've held off in acting on it until they've had a year somewhere and proved themselves, in which case one of two things happened. Either we went and paid them and paid too much for them, or paid a premium for them, or we decided that they were now too expensive even though they were good enough. So either one of them isn't really a great scenario. But Craig, if it was your choice, Barella or McAllister? My initial instinct is to say Barella, but there is something about knowing a player can do it in the Premier League, and we know McAllister can and has. If we're talking similar price tags, Barella's the better player. Barella should be the answer. But I think there's a risk involved in it. What age is he now? 25, 26, Barella? Probably edge to McAllister because of him having a couple of years over Barella, because he's Premier League tested. Probably edge with McAllister. But you'll probably hear me in the next breath or in a few minutes saying that I want Barella to be one of our signings, because I do rate the lad a lot. But I think it's a bit risky. It's just coming from Serie A. Something scares me about bringing in a player from Serie A. If the budget is 200 million, Gravenberch's 25 million, McAllister is 60 million, I don't understand why we can't get Jude. I'm the same, but the answer you will get is the package. It's the package. It's the price for the player and then his wages. Like, we aren't freeing up a shitload of money on wages. And don't let that sneak you by the way, in this window. Don't let the fact that Liverpool are freeing up about £50 million a season in wages this season when the players whose contracts are up move on. Because I don't see much of that being spoken about in the media. I don't see much of those savings being mentioned. That James Milner's 140 or so grand a week will be gone. That Bobby Firmino's 180 grand a week will be gone. That whatever it is that somebody was stupid enough to pay Adrian San Miguel will be gone. That Naby Keita's money gone. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's wages gone. You know, that all adds up. And that gives you a nice chunk there that you can amortise across the length of a player's deal to bring someone in. Craig, I prefer Caicedo of McAllister, but who says no to both? Probably Brighton, Taron Thiago, because I can't imagine that they're going to want to lose both of those players in one window, particularly with the fact that they're more than likely going to have European football next season. Craig, serious question. Do you think players will join you when you've got no Champions League? Look, it's a fair question, Daniel. I think yes, because I think Liverpool can make a fair pitch to these players that it's going to be a one-season blip. That if you look back in our recent history under Klopp, we're pretty much consistently Champions League club. And I think as much as it's also fair to say that other clubs will strengthen around us and get better, and United have gotten better, and there's been a few surprise packages this season, but ultimately I do feel that we will be back in it next year. I don't think we'll be challenging next year unless we sign a certain 19-year-old fella from Birmingham, but I do think yes. I think it will be an easy sell as well. Like, I'm not saying we wouldn't be better if we were in the Champions League. Of course we would, but I do think you can just say, look, last season was a shit show. Look what we did the season before. We nearly won everything. So yeah. But look, it's always easier if you're in the Champions League. There's no denying that. I don't understand why we've been given this one or the other narrative from the owners to the media about, oh, well, Jude's prohibitively expensive. Is he, though? Is he really? If you're going around saying we've 200 mil in the summer, how is he prohibitively expensive? Like, go and sign the fucker. So you know what I mean? Pay the £110 million or whatever it is. And then go out there and bring in one more top-notch midfielder and try and get somebody else that will fill a gap for a season or two till you can boost back up the coffers and go back in and get the player you want, and then bring in a centre-back. It's just frustration and excuses and lies and false dawns and bullshit. And again, what happens? What always happens in these scenarios? What happens when FSG pull the rug out from under us every single year? You know what happens? We turn on each other. Liverpool fans go into social media, into the pubs or with their mates, and we turn on each other. We end up rowing and arguing and sticking up for one side and moaning about something else. And ultimately, we should all be fixing that gaze, that focus, and that frustration squarely towards FSG. And my thing is, and I can't say this enough, if FSG don't give a shit about the Red Sox, their hometown club in the city where they have to walk down the street, see Bostonians every single day, shake hands, wave to people, if they don't give a shit about them and their continued success, why the fuck do we think they're going to give a shit about Liverpool? Because the only thing they care about is the bottom line. And until Liverpool's value starts to fall, FSG will just sit on the asset until they feel they have got every single penny and every single revenue source to the max, and they will only sell when they feel that they're the top of the growth period. And there's still growth left in the Premier League. There's still media growth to be had. And I read somewhere you're looking at maybe 7-8% a season for the next 3 seasons as a potential growth just around the media side of it alone. So